Alrighty, so are you guys ready for a mega review? Because we're about to do a mega review looking at all 14 games that happened in the Saturday night action. And I know for the season, I mentioned I don't want to do these kind of video because it's just way too long and probably nobody will stay tuned till the very end. But that's why there's timestamp in the description below to for you to check out your team game and my take in terms of some of this one. But obviously, I'm doing this mega review simply because since yesterday game between the U.S. and Canada run late, and by the time I finished the review, it was just way too late for me to basically write the notes down on the board and basically do a recording of part one of the review. I decided to kind of combine both of the review from yesterday that I was supposed to do to the review that I was supposed to do today. So with that being said, let us actually get into the first game because we don't want to waste too much time talking about the fact that this review is going to be incredibly long, probably maybe 90 plus minute long. So we start off with the first game, which is Charlotte versus FC Cincinnati, and I'm not gonna lie, I thought Charlotte was gonna pull this one off. Like when Charlotte went up 2-0 early in this one, I thought the shock was definitely on, but Cincinnati shows you in this game why they are the leading team in MLS and in the Eastern Conference, where no matter how they face adversity in this game, they somehow able to pull through and get themselves a good point in this one against Charlotte. And this is despite the fact that they are shorthanded both at front and at the back. But early on, Kubo would hit one right to Kalina. For in the 14th minute, Schwadetsky would score. He scored from Vargas to give Charlotte a 1-0 lead. That was the first shot on goal for Charlotte in this one. So yeah, that was not a great moment if you're Cincinnati giving up a goal on your opponent's first shot. And Karol Schwadetsky, by the way, a big game in this one, though you know that in the end he would definitely be regretting the fact that not only his team didn't win and it was and Charlotte kind of wasted his good performance, but also he probably should have had a hat trick in this one. But in the 24th minute, speaking of Schwadetsky, he scored again. This time he scored from Lindsay and Vargas to make it 2-0. And then Bronico would try to make it 3-0, but he puts it high from long range, and it was all Charlotte up to this point. I mean, if you are watching Cincinnati for the first time, if you're a Cincinnati fan, you could easily say that this is a game that looked like it was the same old, a team that has been always stuck on the bottom of the Eastern Conference, being a wooden spoon kind of contender. But yeah, in this one, at least in the first 30 minutes, it looked like that team because of the way that they're defending and they were just getting nothing going on the attacking end. So in the 39th minute, Arias did try to respond, but he puts that one high before Acosta Wood puts it high on the free kick as Cincinnati started to kind of show some life in this one as we head to halftime with Charlotte leading 2-0. But in the second half, they definitely show more life because in the 50th minute, they had a chance to get one back as a penalty was given to Cincinnati after Barriel was brought down by Lindsay there, which Lucho Acosta steps up to take the penalty. You know Lucho Acosta is not going to miss a penalty, and he doesn't miss here as he buries this one to cut the lead in half with Charlotte leading 2-1. But Schwadetsky did have a chance to make it 3-1, and he was in on goal and looking for his hat trick, but he was absolutely robbed by Celentano here. And not only that was a big save from Roman Celentano, but it turns out to be a big save for Cincinnati just a minute later because on the other end, 1 minute later, Barriel would score from Acosta to tie the game up at two apiece. So great game there from the two Cincinnati attacker, Alvaro Barriel, of course, drawing the penalty that gave life for Cincinnati and then scoring the tying goal, and then Lucho Acosta bearing the penalty shot and also getting on the assist chart. And this one shows you why those two players are the two representative of Cincinnati in the All Star game this year, alongside with Matt Miazga. That is. But in the 73rd minute, Acosta would hit one right to Kalina. As I thought Cincinnati has all the momentum now and was pushing for the lead. But the momentum was kind of halted because in the 76th minute, Ian Murphy would actually get himself his second yellow card. So Cincinnati was down to 10 men. And that momentum switched right back to Charlotte. In fact, in the 81st minute, the post denied Schwadetsky his hat trick from long range. I mean, Schwadetsky absolutely rifled that one. You can see that he was feeling it in this one. He had all that confidence after scoring two goals in this one, and the post just denied him of a wonderful hat trick. And then just a couple of minutes later, he would miss wide again from long range as again Charlotte regained that momentum. They were pushing for the late lead. Cincinnati, while they're down a man, they were holding on for dear life. But fortunately for them, they're able to hold on to preserve a 2-2 draw in this one on the road. Shots in this one, 8 shots with a 7 that Charlotte has, 3 shots on goal for the 4 that Cincinnati has, 3 shots that was off target for the 4 that Charlotte has, no shots that was blocked for the 1 that Cincinnati has, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to the 49% possession that Charlotte has in this game. And yeah, for uh, for Cincinnati. Again, this is a team that is a little bit depleted because of guys that are missing due to international duty on the Gold Cup, but they're still able to come back and get a big result in this one. I mean, again, not many teams are able to do that, but if there's one team that can do that on the road, it's got to be the best team in the league. That is FC Cincinnati. But for Charlotte FC, yeah, this is definitely a frustrating one. They thought that they had a chance to pull off probably the biggest win of the season at home. They just kind of let it slip late in this one. But that being said, moving on in terms of the next game is Columbus and NYCFC. So for NYCFC, this game looked like it was almost a carbon copy of the last game against Montreal, where they were the better team on the road. They created a lot of chances, but was able to put one goal. And looks like they were going on their way to get all 3 points, especially with them being a man up for the last 22 minutes. And then yeah, it was not meant to be, and that Columbus basically did the reverse of what they did last year. You know how Columbus was a team that always dropped points on the cusp of the game being ending. Well, this time they did kind of the opposite in this one, getting a dramatic 1-1 draw. So early on, not much happening in the first 12 minutes of the game, as the shots were only 2-0 for Columbus through 20 minutes, and that would be a theme for some of these early game, by the way. I mean, if there's one storyline I would say about these early games is that, yeah, a lot of these early game, if you only tune in for the second half, you did not miss much. I mean, most of these first half game was pretty boring. In fact, I think all the 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, except for this one, ended 0-0 heading into halftime. But the first shot for NYCFC did see O2 hits one right to Schulte in the 26th minute before Schulte not long after denying Ledesma as he was in on goal. Patrick Schulte probably had his best game for the Columbus Crew in this one because he was really the only reason why this game was scoreless for so long. But there was no doubt that NYCFC was pressing for the opener, though on the other end, Barraza would deny Yoboa from close range before Cucho would hit one right to Barraza. But we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. Now in the 50th minute, Schulte would deny Ledesma, but he did give up a rebound, and Rodriguez was trying to pounce on it, but his shot was actually deflected and it goes wide. And then not long after, Schulte had to make another big save, this time denying Pereira from close range. And you just wonder, despite the fact that NYCFC has the momentum, can they solve Schulte? Because Schulte was definitely having one of those games, and probably the game of his life with the Columbus Crew, single-handedly keeping this one scoreless. And then in the 61st minute, yeah, Gabby Pereira, yeah, he definitely does not want to look this one back. I mean, he was in on goal there. He actually went around the keeper, went around Schulte. All he had to do was just hit it into the empty net, and he slipped. Yep, I mean, bro, that moment sums up NYCFC season. Like this, it just feels like it's just one of those seasons for NYCFC, and you also feel like with that kind of moment, is that just kind of one of those games for NYCFC where no matter how much chances they create, they're not going to do so because their opposition goalkeeper is just a wall in this one, and also not to mention the finishing and just some bad luck that happened in this one. Though, that being said, a couple of minutes later, Pereira did try to make up for it, and he almost made up in a big way because he tried to chip Schulte in his own half there, but Schulte just did enough to get himself back on his lines and tip that one over. That probably shouldn't have happened if it didn't came off of a bad turnover, and it's actually was Darlington Nagbe of all people that committed the turnover. I mean, you do not see that Darlington Nagbe turn the ball over carelessly in his own half, but that's what happened in this one and almost cost Columbus a goal in this one. And then to make matters worse for the Crew, in the 68th minute, of all players to get sent off, it actually was Cucho Hernandez getting himself a second yellow card of this game. So yeah, Columbus, of course, were down man for the remaining of the game, and that turns out to be the key for NYCFC to finally unlock the door of getting the first goal, because in the 75th minute, they finally break through. And again, for the second week in a row, it came off of an unlikely goal scorer, Justin Hack, scoring his first career MLS goal from Rodriguez to give NYCFC a 1-0 lead. And just like how last week against Montreal, where Mateus Pellegrini scored an absolute stunner to give NYCFC the lead. The same goes for Justin Hack. I mean, Columbus, I think they maybe gave Justin Hack a little bit too much respect with them backing off too much there, but yeah, they probably would not give him respect anymore after that. I mean, he absolutely rifles that one to give NYCFC a much needed lead. And then in the 87th minute, Nancy actually would be sent to the stands. So he was absolutely irate at the referee. Now, throughout the game, he was definitely upset with the referee, and same goes for the Columbus bench. And in some way, they have some right to do so because I didn't think the referee uh, job in this one was really good. But what Nancy did that actually got himself sent off, he walked onto the pitch and complained to the referee. So yeah, when you walk on the pitch as a manager and you walk out of your technical area, yeah, that's all obviously going to be an automatic red card. And also, one of the Columbus Crew coaching staff actually got a red card too because apparently it looked like one of them was throwing a water bottle toward the referee decision. Although again, the thing is, it was just kind of the angle that we were looking that kind of looks like that. But on if you see it a couple of times, I think that coaching staff it was just kind of out of frustration of him just was trying to throw his bottle to the ground because of frustration. But again, just looking at the angle, it looked like he was throwing toward the referee. Either way, that was just unacceptable behavior, and definitely behavior would get yourself sent off. And I also thought that not only this has gone wrong for Columbus in this one, but I also thought that maybe this could be a good thing for the Columbus Crew because could this be a moment where the team can rally behind their manager who just got himself sent off in this one in the heat of the moment and potentially get themselves the equalizer? Well, the answer turns out to be yes, because in the 4th minute of stoppage time, as I mentioned, with Justin Hack scoring an unlikely screamer, well, Steve Zawadzki, he scored an unexpected screamer from Ramirez and Diaz to tie the game up at one apiece. I mean, I know Zawadzki has scored goals this season, but again, that was probably the best goal he's scored this season, and one that I don't think anyone thought that was going to be the likely goal scorer to score a screamer. Like, you would think Zarian would be the guy, not Steven Zawadzki. But that goal ties the game up at one apiece. Chanel then looked to get the lead back, but he missed wide there in the 10th minute of stoppage time. And then in the 14th minute of stoppage time, Chanel would head it high from the cross. Again, this game turns out to be one of the longest game of the season because there was a lot of stoppage, especially a long delay with the whole Nancy situation. And you notice I said one of the longest game because this still hasn't even came close to the longest game this season in that game between the Red Bulls and the Quakes. And that game, of course, turns out to be a very infamous game, and you probably know why that it ends up to be 23 minutes of stoppage time. But yeah, in the end, it ends in a 1-1 draw, and the shots in this one, 15 shots compared to 12 that Columbus had, 4 shots on goal compared to 9 that NYCFC had. Yeah, it's safe to say that Patrick Schulte had a really good game in this one. 5 shots off target for the 4 that NYCFC had. 2 shots that was blocked for the 3 that Columbus had. And possession-wise, 60% possession compared to the 40% possession that NYCFC has in this game. And again, for NYCFC, it looked like they were on hand to have a repeat of their performance against Montreal. But, when you're not having a good season, these kind of moments does happen. And it's another frustrating draw for a game that they could have got all 3 points. And if you're Columbus, I mean, you got to consider yourself lucky, and that it's not often dropping points at home is considered a positive result, but consider all the outcome that happened in this one. They'll be happy with the fact that they're able to get a point out of this game, despite at times they were being outplay, and that their goalkeeper really come up big in this one to keep them in this game as long as possible. Well, that being said, moving on in the next match is DC and Inter Miami. So I think this game also kind of sums up of what we saw in the early part of the game, where maybe in the first half it was relatively boring, but then in the second half that's when everything happened, and it turns out defense was kind of optional in the second half. It feels like defense kind of stopped playing after the hour mark in this game for both teams. Early on, Funtas would hit a one hopper right to counter, but that was really the only shot we had. Not much was happening in this game. Again, that was not really that was kind of the only shot we had for about 25 minutes or so. Neither team really done much on the attack. Though on the 38th minute, Benteke was in on goal here, but he was robbed by counter in this one. Heinz then hits it wide on the set piece before O'Brien actually puts the ball into the back in the 43rd minute. The problem was the flag did not agree with him, as the flag came up for offside as soon as O'Brien puts that one into the back of the net. But there was no doubt that DC were showing some life. They were pushing late to get the opener in this one, but we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. Now in the second half, I thought it was a promising start for Miami early. Miller would deny Martinez from close, but then in the 60th minute, Miami takes the lead. It's Tomaski. He scored from Robert Taylor to give Miami a 1-0 lead. I don't know if that is actually the first goal for Benjamin Tomaski. I do remember that I think he scored a goal earlier this season, and if it is his first career goal, I do apologize for the fact that I didn't put that on the board because I usually always put that on the board when a player scored his first career MLS goal. And if that indeed is the case, what a way to score your first career MLS goal! Absolute banger of a goal that Kamaski scored here. And yeah, Miami take the 1-0 lead, but on the other end, just 1 minute after they take the lead, Calendar had to deny Funtas before he had to deny Assad after just a bad turnover from Miami. And, it was a great response for DC. I mean, they were pressing to get the equalizer, but definitely not a good response for Miami. You just took the lead on the road. Looked like you're finally going to end this long winless run. And then, yeah, you just let the opposition back into the game, and DC basically make sure that they took advantage of that pressure because in the 65th minute, Taxi Funtas would score for the second consecutive game as he scored from Dahome and Assad to give DC the lead. The lead only lasted, or actually not the lead, but the tying goal. The tie would only last for 3 minutes because in the 68th minute, Miami actually retake the lead, and it's Noah Allen that retakes the lead for Miami. And this was just one of those play where when you have a ball that is delivered into the box, I know that whenever it lands in the dangerous area, it's almost like no man's land if you're a defender. I mean, you don't want to touch it because it might actually hit into your own net, but you also want to intervene because that might not be a good look. The fact that that ball actually bounced through everybody, and that's exactly what happened in this one. So yeah, I mean, just a very strange goal. The fact that that one actually touched no one, but Miami wouldn't care. They were leading 2-1 in this one. They thought that maybe they have a chance to end this losing streak. Funtas did look to respond on the free kick, but he hits it right to counter. But then the 77th minute, DC did get the response and tie it for the second time. It's Nigel Roberta scoring from Juan and Torres. And by the way, Roberta and Juan, they literally just came on 1 minute ago when this goal and assist happened. So you talk about it being a sub that make an instant impact. I mean, this Dan and some. I mean, just 1 minute coming into the game and really just kind of the first touch for both of those players, and that ball was in the back of the net. But yeah, that ties the game up at two apiece. Bolt right did hits one right to Miller before Calendar would rob Benteke from point blank. And I mean, road defending seems to be checked out for both teams because it really started to become back and forth in terms of how this game goes. Benteke was in on goal again, but he was robbed by Calendar again in the 89th minute. I mean, Christian Benteke has to be snake bitten in this one, and also probably have nightmares about Trey Calendar later after this game because there was just so many times where he had a good look and Drake Calendar making some big save, robbing him each time. On the other end, Aurora would hits it high and wide from long range before Benteke had another chance as he hits it wide off of just a long ball coming in. It was kind of a route one ball that was delivered by his own goalkeeper. Like anytime when a route one ball can easily get to an attacker and a chance to score, the defense have simply checked out. Like that should not happen. With how easy that Miller was able to boots this one right to Benteke, and Benteke almost score what would have been the winning goal for DC. But in the end, it ends in a 2-2 draw, and the shots in this one, 16 shots for the 11 that Miami has, 9 shots on goal for the 6 that Miami has, 3 shots off target for the 6 that DC had, 1 shot that was blocked for the 2 that Miami has, and actually forgot to put the possession, but I might as well not even have to mention it without the possession because of how end-to-end this game was in the second half. But overall, despite the fact that, if you're a neutral, you definitely got your money's worth, especially what happened in the second half. I don't think neither of these teams will be happy. I mean, for Miami, it is now I think 9 games without a win this season. It could, I think it might actually been 10 games. I'm not sure, but it's been a long time since they got their last win. And for DC, again, against a team that is at the bottom of the Eastern Conference and a team that a lot of teams has been able to get 3 points, they would feel like this is very disappointing for them to drop points, even if they had to come back twice in this one against Inter Miami. With that being said, moving on into the last game on this board is Montreal and Atlanta. So Atlanta was actually the only team to be able to get a win out of all the teams that was above the playoffs. I mean, again, if you were the team that is above the playoff line in the Eastern Conference, it was a rough week for you. But if you're Atlanta, that was the few exception because they pull off a 1-0 row win against Montreal. And early on, Toy did miss wide from close before he missed wide again on the header from the corner, as I thought Montreal was on the front foot. Ibrahim then hits it wide from close before Duke would hit one right to Guzan. Though Lennon did pose it wide, as I thought that was Atlanta's first shot of the game. So despite the fact that Montreal kind of dominated this game, we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. Now in the second half, Sosa did hit it right to Siwas. I thought Atlanta started the half the much better side, and it just feels like they finally got a foothold into this game after the first half. It was pretty much mostly in favor of the host, and they were rewarded by that by scoring the opening goal of the game, as in the 54th minute, Brooks Lennon would score to give Atlanta a 1-0 lead. Amada actually struck the post on the free kick. So in some way, I mean, I know Amada doesn't get all credited on another free kick goal and actually even get on the score sheet in this one. If that one didn't hit the post, it probably wouldn't bounce right fortuitously to Lennon there. But yeah, that gave Atlanta a 1-0 lead. And just a reminder that Thiago Amada, yeah, this is a guy you do not want to give himself a chance to hit a free kick from 25 yards out, because most time or not, that one is either going to hit the off the post or it's going to be in the back of the net. But in the 64th minute, Camacho did try to respond for Montreal, but he missed wide from the corner before Campbell would puts it over the bar from long range. Mata then tried to finish it all for Atlanta as he was trying to do around Siwas, but he was denied. But yeah, in the end, despite the fact that Atlanta wasn't able to find that killer second goal, Montreal just didn't really had any finishing in this one to show for. As in the end, Atlanta pulls off the 1-0 win, and again, the stats kind of shows you why Montreal didn't had any finishing, because despite the fact that they more than double Atlanta in terms of shots, 15 shots compared to 7 that Atlanta has. Only one of them was on goal compared to 3 that Atlanta has. 2 shots on goal compared to 9 that Montreal has. 5 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that Atlanta has. And possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession that Atlanta has in this game. And again, how many times I've said that just because you put up a shooting gallery in front of goal, if you cannot test the goalkeeper enough, yeah, you're probably not going to win the game. And now all of a sudden, Montreal, I think this is now back-to-back home loss that they suffered in these last 2 games after, Stade Saputo was pretty much a fortress early this season. And that's kind of bad news if you're Montreal, because that's kind of how they've got themselves back into playoff contention. But now they kind of started to slip away a little bit. But if you're Atlanta, I mean, I got to say, for Atlanta United, I did not expect the fact that, when you look at this murderous road that they're going through, 2 wins already in this murderous world that they're going through, right? And I think that's gonna definitely relieve some pressure that Gonzalo Pineda would feel. I mean, I know they're still not playing the prettiest brand of soccer that we associate with Atlanta United, but consider how things have been going. I don't think any Atlanta United fans are caring whether they play pretty soccer or not. As long as they get result, that's what they really care. And again, these last two games, facing facing a tough opponent like the Union, and then facing against a team like Montreal, who hasn't suffered a lot of loss this season at home. This was an impressive feat for this Atlanta team to pull off and stay themselves in a good position in the playoff line. And also, as I mentioned, they get the dubious honor of becoming, or I wouldn't say the dubious, but probably the proudest honor of being the only team in the Eastern Conference that was above the red line to able to get a win from this match week. That being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the next 4 games that happened in terms of all the action on the Saturday night of match week number 23. So now let's get to the most controversial game of the week. And I gotta say, if you're a New England Revolution fan, I mean, I do apologize and definitely send my condolence in terms of this game. And I think even Pro basically did the same thing too, because yeah, they got robbed in this game against the Red Bulls. They should have had a point in this one because of a call that clearly was the wrong call in the end. Well, actually, I wouldn't say clearly because I did have to look at it a couple of times to see why exactly Raps fan was just so riled up about it, and I finally saw it to a point where even Pro basically saw it too, and like I said, they later apologized to the New England Revolution that they got this one wrong. But let's actually get to what happened early in this game. In the first half, with Amaya puts it high from long range before Ismail puts a one hopper over the bar. Lucchinias then hits one right to Petchfish before Wood miss a header wide. And there's actually been some good chances for both team early for the lead. So again, unlike the other game, this also was one of the rare game where there was actually some chances in terms of the 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific start. Though Vancier did put one right to Petchfish before Petchfish would rob Reyes on a point blank effort from the header. Boateng then was in on goal there, but he was denied by Cornell. But we do head to halftime with this game scoreless between both of these teams. Now in the second half, and by the way, I didn't even wrote second half here. Lucchinias would heads it high from the corner as I thought the Red Bulls started the second half the better side and they were pressing for the opener. And they do. In the 58th minute, Frankie Amaya would score from Vanzier and Lucchinias to give the Red Bulls a 1-0 lead. And then it kind of got even better for the Red Bulls because New England would actually go down to 10 men just 2 minutes later as Latif Blessing would get himself a straight red. I'm not gonna lie, I thought this was kind of harsh at first look with the way that I mean there was really not much in terms of this. I mean it was high in terms of the high boot challenge on Fernandez, but I didn't think it was just too egregious in terms of this being a straight red, but nevertheless, Blessing was giving his marching order, and New England had to play down a man for the remaining of this game. But then in the 69th minute, Barlow would hit one right to Petchfitch. But then in the 73rd minute, and I actually got this one wrong. I actually credit this as a Red Bulls goal, but it's actually credited as a New England Revolution goal. But in the 73rd minute, Brendan Bai would score from Gustavo Bolt to give the Revs the equalizer. And really, I think it was kind of against the run of play because up to that point, the Red Bulls really controlled the game. Though, unfortunately, that tying goal didn't last long because in the 85th minute, Wiki Camarena would score from Fernandez and Amaya to give the Red Bulls a 2-1 lead. It took a wicked deflection, but it goes in. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of also one of those rare time where when you have a team that is playing very well, like New England, it's often you see those deflections that kind of gone against you. But that's kind of how this is. Though I will say that up to that point, the Red Bulls were playing very well. So when you're playing well, you're gonna get those deflection in your way, and that was definitely the case at least for Wiki Carmona. But in the 89th minute, Duncan did pose it just wide from close as the Red Bulls were looking to put this one away. But then in the third minute stoppage time, this is where we get to the controversy. This was pretty much the talking point of this game. So Andrew Farrell probably scored the goal of the week, and I think that was probably his first career MLS goal because I don't think Andrew Farrell has ever scored for New England. Well, not that I remember, but he absolutely buries this one from long range, and it was 2-2. But VAR basically said, nope, that is not going to be a goal because apparently they judged that Baroni was in the line of the shot and was in an offside position. Now I've seen that happen before this season where just because you don't touch the ball, you're in the line of the shot or even screening the goalkeeper and you're in an offside position, that's going to be disallowed. Now, that's originally what I thought it was going to be the case. But then I look at it a couple of times, and then I kind of see how Barlow looked like he was the one that kind of deflected. And this is where Revs fans basically brought up that it looked like it hit off of one of the Red Bulls player, and Tom Barlow, of course, is the guy that they're refereeing. And if that, of course, is the case, that just neglect the offside. Like if that one, of course, take a deflection. It doesn't matter if someone is in the line of the shot. That is not going to count as offside. And if that is, of course, the case, which the more I look at it, I think that, of course, is the case. Then this is the wrong call. And later on, Pro admitted that the fact that this was the wrong call and that yeah, New England they got robbed in terms of this one. And again, the sad thing about this is that as much as Pro basically says this, it's not going to change anything. Like, MLS is not going to say, well, we're going to give a point to New England because of them getting screwed up. And that's kind of the sad thing about this, where we know it was the wrong call, but at the end of the day, there's really nothing we can do. And even even though they release a statement like that, it's not going to change anybody's heart. But at the end of the day, I think that just kind of shows you another example. And just again, I know I've been kind of beating this dead horse for these past couple of years, but my God, some of these VAR calls have just been absolutely atrocious, to a point where it's just kind of almost game changing moments that, again, coming down the line, if New England is going to be battling for the supporter shield, and if they miss out on a point, I really hope this is not going to be the game that could be the case, because yeah, there could be a big difference in terms of grabbing a point and able to salvage a point, like or compared to getting nothing. And again, New England, they kind of got robbed in this one. That should have been the equalizer. Andrew Phil should have got his first goal in what seems like a long time here to tie the game up at two apiece. But in the end, it ends in a 2-1 game, and the shots in this one, I know the stats will definitely show the Red Bulls with a better team. 22 shots compared to just 6 that New England has. 2 shots on goal compared to 7 that the Red Bulls had. 4 shots off target compared to 7 that the Red Bulls had. 8 shots that was blocked compared to none that the Refs had. And possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that the Refs has in this game. But let's not use that as a distraction, as the fact that the refs should have got a point out of this one. And it's sad, the fact that every season it feels like we had these kind of moment, and this is definitely one of those games where it is pretty clear that a call definitely screwed one of the team up. And at least I would say Pro kind of admits it. Whereas in the past, I have seen Pro basically denies it, even though it was pretty obvious that it was a wrong call. But nevertheless, moving on in terms of the next game, and now talk about a game that has less controversy in Toronto and St. Louis. So yeah, for Toronto, I mean, I mentioned before, between them and Colorado, these are the two teams that probably they are done this season. Like they are in see you next season mode, and this game kind of proves that. Where St. Louis, they probably could score a couple more goals and in this one, rather than just a 1-0 win that we saw them getting on the road. Now, in the first half, I want to mention Toronto was wearing their new alternative kit. I don't think I mentioned this in the news of the week episode, that they actually have a new third kits. I think they're like the second team that does that after Atlanta United to release a third kit, and I actually love that third kit that they had. It looks really good. Definitely very tempting to try to get one. But in the 7th minute, Adeniran would hit one right to Romero after just a turnover there. Well, actually, not from St. Louis, but from Toronto FC. In the 18th minute, Giacchini would hit one right to Romero before I thought St. Louis was on the front foot, and they were looking to try to get the opener. Jackson would then put it high from long range before Aquino with the first shot for TFC, but he missed wide there. Marshall Ruddy then puts it wide from long range, and then Berkey had to tip Franklin long range shot over, and all of a sudden Toronto has gone to this game. So if you're St. Louis, again, a team that knows to score early goals, that's kind of concerning. The fact that, yeah, you had some good opportunity, unable to get that first goal, and now TFC has got themselves into the game. Though in the 36th minute, Marshall Ruddy would hit one right to Berkey. Did I say 37th minute when Berkey tipped Franklin shot? It was actually the 32nd minute that happened. But in the 40th minute, Jackson would hit a volley that just hit the roof of the net before Romero had to deny Adeniran. But that ball was still goal bound, even with Romero's save, and I think he's very fortunate that one of his teammates was able to clear that one off the line, because that would not be a good moment for Thomas Romero, unable to get enough to palm that one away from a Adeniran shot. But we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Marshall Ruddy puts it just wide from long range. But then in the 50th minute, St. Louis finally got the opening goal, and it's Azel Jackson scoring his first career MLS goal from Watts to give St. Louis a 1-0 lead. I mean, you just kind of feel like it was coming. You knew that with the way that Azel Jackson, with the limited minutes that he's been getting, he's been looking promising for the St. Louis side. You knew eventually he was going to finally get his first goal, and he finally did it. And turns out to be a big moment too, because that turns out actually be the winning goal of this game. Though on the other end, Berkey would deny Aquino, who looked to try to get an instant response just 1 minute after Jackson gets the opening goal for St. Louis. Shroud then puts it high from close, as I thought this game really started to become all open. I mean, chances was really coming in for both team, which, normally that doesn't favor the team that leads, but that's kind of the style that St. Louis loves to play. So I guess in some way it's kind of favored them in some way. Then hits a one hopper right to Romero before Romero would deny Pompeo in the near post, and really St. Louis, they were pressing to try to kill this game off. But the problem is that they weren't able to do so because Romero was trying to keep this game and trying to at least give TFC a chance to get the equalizer in this one, but it didn't came. And in the end, St. Louis was able to hold on to get the 1-0 lead. Shots in this one, 17 shots compared to 12 that Toronto has, 6 shots on goal compared to 3 that TFC had, 5 shots off target compared to 4 that St. Louis had, 4 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that St. Louis had. Get a sip of water. And then possession, 62% possession compared to 32% or 38% possession that St. Louis had. I'm okay. Okay. That's just part of me about talk about a long review where I'm gonna have a moment I need some water there. But yeah, in the end, again, St. Louis, they were able to hold on to the lead, and really if they were a little bit more clinical, and if Romero wasn't making those big saves, this could have been easily 3 or 4-0 for TFC. But really for TFC, it's nothing being different. I mean, this is just an example of them clearly thinking about next season, and that I think you can clearly see that this team is going to pretty much cut that core that they currently have. But that being said, moving on in terms of the next game, Chicago. So for the Chicago Fire, it seems like, once again, they're giving their fans some hope, which, Fire fans will warn everybody in their fan base that, yeah, we're not going to take the bait. But at least the good thing is with them doing well lately is that it has kind of got themselves back into playoff contention. And again, that's where it gets a little bit murky because we've seen this before with the Chicago Fire, and then they just kind of collapse in the latter part of the season. But at least they can enjoy the fact that they got a big 1-0 win in this one against Nashville. Though early on, Bunbury was in on goal there, but his shot was actually twice blocked by Shihos, and it was crucial that Shihos blocked that, because if he didn't block those shots, Bunbury would have gained Nashville a 1-0 lead. Herbert's then blasted high from long range, and like the earlier game, really not much that happened in the early part of this one too. But in the 34th minute, Fabian Herberts. I mean, who thought that Fabian Herberts has become a goal scorer for this Fire team? I mean, I didn't. I mean, the last couple of games, he's been scoring goals and scoring big goals for this Fire team too. But he scored here from Haile Selassie to give the Fire a 1-0 lead, though it was really a gift. Like, this was a gift from the Fire, where Jack Mayer of all people actually turned the ball over. You do not see this Nashville team commit bad mistake and turn the ball over badly in their own half very often, but that was kind of the case, and Chicago capitalized on it, and they lead 1-0. Though Mayer did look like he made amends of it in the 41st minute. Problem was he fouled Navarro by doing so. Like, he did head that one in, but it was pretty clear that he brought down Navarro to trying to head that one into the back of the net. Though McNulton did head it wide from the corner, as I thought Nashville had responded well. Like, they were trying to press to get the equalizer late in the first half, but we do head to halftime with Chicago leading 1-0. Now in the second half, Pico would hit one right to Brady before Brady denied Mukta on the free kick. Mukta, of course, was subbed into this game in the second half, and it was unsurprising that he definitely had a big impact for this Nashville side. Mukta then heads it wide from the set piece. For I thought once again, Nashville was trying to press for the equalizer. The post would actually deny Mukta, but then there was pure chaos that happened after that ball rounded the post, and Hackinson had a chance on the follow up, but he posted just wide. But then on the other end, it would be the post getting in the way of the Chicago Fire, as it denied Pineda from long range, and it feels like it's post taken and post given, or I think maybe it's the other way around. It's post given post taken for the Fire. So on one end, the post rescued the Chicago Fire, and then on the other end, the post basically victimized the Fire, a chance to get that second goal. But really, as the time winds down, it was very end to end, and I don't think that favored the Chicago Fire, especially heading the last couple of minutes. We know this team has that tendency of giving up late goals, but in the end, they were able to hold on to get a 1-0 win in this one. The shots in this one, the stats actually they heavily favorites Nashville, at least in the shots category. 6 shots compared to 18 that Nashville has, but this is the problem from that I said earlier with Montreal. Despite having so many shots, only 2 of them was on goal compared to one that Chicago has. And it turns out that one shot on goal was in the back of the net. 3 shots off target for the 8 that Nashville has. 8 shots that was blocked for the 2 that Chicago has. And possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that the Fire has in this one. And, for Nashville, it is pretty clear that they need a number 9. And from what I heard, it seems like they are trying to target a number 9. Remember, they opened a DP spot after they decided to buy out Ake Loba loan remaining contract from the loan to Mazatlan, but obviously they desperately need a number 9 because it's pretty clear that Hani Mukhtar, as much as he tried his best to do a carry job in this one, he needs some help. And while there's definitely some promise, and I think the other thing for Nashville is that they also missed Jacob Schaffelberg very much in this one. I mean, it's no surprise that Jacob Schaffelberg, as I mentioned in yesterday's game, made a big impact for Canada, or at least at that point in extra time, scoring that late goal because he has that pace and that ability that Nashville desperately need as another attacker. And I won't be surprised they're going to trying to get one during the summer. But again, for the Chicago Fire, again, hey, they got another win. I mean, and they're able to close out games. I mean, it feels like now that bad habits that they had in the beginning of the season has started to go away, and Frank Kopas has done a good job to do so. But like like what every Fire fans will warn their fan base, don't really kind of buy into this because this is an example of the Fire cycle where it feels like this team always give you hope, and then they absolutely crushed it by the time when we head to August, and well, in this case probably September because we got a long lay off very soon with the Leeds Cup that is going to be happening in just a bit. But that being said, moving on to what was supposed to be the final game if I was doing part one, but this is only just past the halfway point of this review, is Houston and Sporting KC. So again, this was another relatively entertaining game, and Sporting KC looked like they did enough to hold on to get a 2-1 lead, but Houston make sure that, yeah, this is not going to be the game where they suffer their second loss at home. Early on, Funtas, or not Funtas, Fontas would hits one right to Clark there. No, they're very similar name, but it's pronounced Fontas. But in the 15th minute, Quinones would hit one into the side netting as the shots were only one apiece for both teams through 20 minutes. But in the 25th minute, first goal of the game was scored from Alan Polito as he scored from Kinda and Fontas to give Sporting KC a 1-0 lead. Are you sure, Sporting KC, you want to sell Alan Polito? I mean, I know there's a lot of talk that he could be moving on to another team and maybe even going back to Chivas. But with the way that Polito has been scoring a lot of goals, it's hard for Sporting KC to think about selling him. And I get it. The injuries concern is that issue, and we know Polito when he's healthy, he is definitely a top 5 goal scorer in this league. But that's a big if in terms of him staying healthy, and at least with him being healthy, it's no surprise that he's been a man on fire for the Sporting KC side. Though Herrera did look to get an instant response, but he puts it high in the 29th minute. We then go through a period where not much really happened, and there was no written happen to this game. But in the 43rd minute, McIntosh had to deny Herrera on the free kick, but in the second minute of stoppage time, he could not do anything about this. This was probably one of the best team goal I've seen this season, as Aliou Ibrahim would score his first career MLS goal from Herrera and Bear, and again, just champagne soccer there from Houston. A rare moment where you see a team do a tic-tac-toe kind of play in the box, and it went into the back of the net, and that's exactly how it did. It was so good that Sporting KC backline just quit. Like, as soon as the way that Houston worked it so well, you can see that backline knew it. Like, as soon as that got to Ibrahim, yeah, they quit. They knew that was going to be in the back of the net, and yeah, that ties the game up at 1 apiece. And then in the second half, McIntosh would deny Bear in the front post. The momentum was definitely with Houston. They were definitely feeling it, looking to trying to get the lead now, but there was a bit of a setback because a penalty was given to Sporting as Artur brought down Kinda in the box, and Polito, of course, steps up to take the penalty. I mean, with how hot Polito has been, you know he's not going to miss that penalty, and he doesn't, as he makes it 2-1 in favor of Sporting KC, retake the lead for the visitor. Though Artur did try to make amends for is conceding the penalty, but he puts it high from long range, and then Escobar puts it wide from close before McIntosh denied Herrera from the free kick. I mean, Houston, they were throwing the kitchen sink. It looked like Sporting KC was just holding on for dear life and trying to hold on to this lead uh, uh, for this stoppage. In fact, there was 10 minutes of stoppage time. So, yeah, anytime when that happened, that usually doesn't go well for the road team when you're just trying to bunker in and hope that you can hold on to the lead. And it's no surprise they didn't work in this one either, because in the 8th minute of stoppage time, even Franco would score from Olferson and Herrera to tie the game up at 2 apiece. And then, just as Sporting KC were ready to kick the ball off, I mean, this was just crazy. Like, this was just a moment of madness for Seba Ferreira, where he basically shoved Kinda down in onto the ground, and somehow only got a yellow card out of this. Now, obviously, there's no doubt that the disciplinary committee is going to look at this, and I think there's probably going to be a retroactive suspension on Seba Ferreira, because that was just completely uncalled for. And I think that kind of moment just sums up Seba Ferreira career with the Houston Dynamo. I mean, started so well, but man, what a fall from grace he's been, especially under Ben Olsen, where he's not getting regular minutes, and then he does that. I mean, that's gonna be a moment that I won't be surprised that could be the last time we may see Sebastian Ferreira in a Houston Dynamo shirt, because that's just completely uncalled for, and that again I won't be surprised we're gonna see a suspension, or even a 2-game suspension because of that. But nevertheless, in the end, it ends in a 2-2 draw, and the shots in this one, 19 shots for the 5 that Sporting KC had, 6 shots on goal for the 3 that Sporting KC had, 1 shot off target for the 6 that Houston had, 7 shots on block for the 1 that Sporting KC had, and possession-wise, 60% possession compared to the 40% possession that Sporting KC has in this game. And yeah, overall, for the Dynamo, yes, they were able to rescue themselves a point, but again, knowing how well they've been doing at home this season, you'll be kind of a little bit disappointed that they weren't able to get all 3. And for Sporting KC, I mean, they will be kind of disappointing too, because again, they were trying to do a little row heave mode late in the game, and how many times we've seen when you try to do row heave mode and try to bunker on the road, it doesn't usually work well, and it didn't work in this one for Sporting KC too. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and now look at the next four games as part of this mega review, where I look at all 14 games from the Saturday night action of match week number 23. So moving on, in the next game is Minnesota and Austin. So this is a classic example of a game where the scoreline didn't tells the whole story, where this really is the second game in a row where I thought the Loons outplay Austin, especially in the first half, and yet somehow they end up on the losing side, and on the losing side badly in this one. I mean, on the attacking end, I thought Minnesota played really well, but as it is the case this season, finishing has been a huge issue. And also, not to mention, in this game, the midfield and defense decided that they were not going to show up in this one, especially in the second half. Now, early on, Garcia was in on goal there, but he missed wide as the flag went up, and then Longwane hits one right to Stuvert. I thought it was a positive start for the Loons as they were pressing for the early lead. Longwane then puts it wide from close, and then Stuvert would deny Garcia from close range, and then it was the post denying Dotson on a free header, because of course, this team, despite how many chances that they were creating, they were not really getting any luck. And what also is not getting any luck is them conceding in the 35th minute, as Diego Fagundes would score from Pereira to give Austin a 1-0 lead. It was completely against the run of play. That was only the second shot that Austin has, compared to, I think, up to that point, Minnesota had 8 shots up to that point. Reynoso then puts it wide on the free kick before Dotson would hit one right to Stuvert. And as soon as that happened, I immediately wrote, yep, it looks like it's one of those games for the Loons. It doesn't matter how many chances they are, they're just snake bin in front of goal. The finishing is just absolutely woeful. And to make matters worse, a penalty was given to Austin after Dibasi brought down Gallagher in the box. Now, I might be biased, but I kind of don't think that was a penalty, and that in some way Debasi probably got hard done in terms of it. I mean, I will say this, just to try not to be biased in this moment. I can definitely see the argument on the other side where it was kind of hard to tell whether or not if Debasi actually got a touch of that ball, or was it actually Gallagher the one that got that got the touch of the ball, because the ball was definitely rolling away as that challenge was made, and maybe you could argue it wasn't kind of clear and obvious when they go to VAR, because again the original call was the fact that it was a penalty. But again, knowing how VAR has worked this season, and especially from this match week, I mean it can definitely go either way. But and again, the Loons were having no luck whatsoever in the first half, so I think it was not a big surprise they didn't overturn that. And then Andre Yusi, of course, steps up from the spot. He buries it, and Austin were leading 2-0, despite the fact that I think Minnesota played better in the first half. Now, in the second half, Irvin would deny Lima from close range, and then in the 51st minute, Trey Yusi would score again. He scored from Finley and Pereira to make it 3-1 or 3-0 in favor of Austin. This was by far the best game for Sebastian Trey Yusi, and this game definitely looked like the old Trey Yusi that we saw last season, which that has to be great news if you're an Austin fan. But at the same time, that was just way too easy. Like that was just non-existent defending. Like the last guy you want to be wide open in the box is Sebastian Driussi, and the fact that the Loons did not mark him whatsoever in the back post, it was criminal defending. Won't be the last time I'll say that. But in the 56th minute, Timu Puki was summoned into this game, and despite the fact that the team was down 3-0 and the fans were kind of a little bit restless, it was a standing ovation, because I'm pretty sure most of those crowd that went to Allianzville was definitely looking forward to see the debut of Timu Puki. And I gotta say, I am really excited to see what he can brings to the table. I mean, I know this team has had a long curse of number nines not scoring a goal. I think it kind of started ever since Christian Ramirez was traded to another team, even though he didn't want to do so. But I think Timu Puki can definitely break that curse, because he looked really lively. He looked probably the best number nine in terms of his movement and the chances that he created, compared to all these number nines that I've seen the Loons have tried to to use as a replacement for Christian Ramirez. But one of those moments that came in the 74th minute when Stuver denied Pookie from close range before Reynoso would puts it wide from close. And again, that shot kind of sums up this game for Minnesota, because I thought that shot from Reynoso, when you first look, it looked like it was going to sneak into that left side of the post, and then it just knuckled away and goes wide. I mean, that pretty much just sums up for this team. It looks like it's close for them to get at least a couple of goals, and then it just kind of drifted away. Though that being said, they did eventually get their first goal, and another good moment too in a game that there was not a lot of silver lining. Devin Paddlefield getting his first career MLS goal from Dotson and Tajuri Shradi to make it 3-1 in favor of Austin, and it's also good to see Tajuri Shradi gets on the score sheet. I mean, I know his debut with Minnesota would definitely be overshadowed by the Timu Puki debut, but I thought Tajiri Shradi played very well in this one too, and he definitely will be a weapon that this team can use coming off the bench. In the fourth minute stoppage time, Irvin would deny Rigoni from close range, but he wasn't saving this one in the fifth minute stoppage time, as Rigoni would score from Dreyusi and Gallagher. That's now twice that Emmanuel Rigoni has scored against Minnesota. I mean, I'm pretty sure he is just hoping that Austin can play Minnesota every time, or maybe requesting Don Gabber that if they can play Minnesota more often, because it seems like that's his favorite opponent in terms of scoring this season in MLS. But yeah, that made it 4-1, and also the defending non-existent from the Loons. I mean, they basically checked out. Like once again, leaving Rigoni wide open in the back post. Absolutely criminal defending there from the Loons. And yeah, in the end, Austin were able to win 4-1 in this one. The shots in this one, 23 shots for the 17 that Austin had, 7 shots on goal for the 8 that Austin has, 12 shots off target for the 5 that Austin has. Both teams had 4 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 56% possession compared to the 44% possession that Austin has in this one. And I think this game also kind of in some way sums up Minnesota this season, and how it's so frustrating, because this team I think in most games they have played well, especially on the attacking end. but they've just been snake bitten in terms of the finishing. And I thought maybe in the last game it was they turned a corner with scoring 4 goals against Portland. Yeah, it doesn't seem like they turned a corner after this game. Though again, the good news is that Timu Puki is now made his debut, and I think once he get more chemistry with the likes of Reynoso and also if Sun with Sunbin too, who didn't play in this one, I have a feeling things are going to turn around because you can have these kind of games where you've been just so snake bitten in terms of finishing until finally the goals of course come. But what I'm also kind of concerned is the fact that the midfield and defense has really regressed lately. Though again, they didn't have Michael Boxall in this game because he was suspended. So I mean, it was kind of, you can say it was a makeshift back line, but yeah, I mean, this is a concern with the way that the back line and midfield has not been good in these last couple of games. And that again, if they were decent in this one, they probably wouldn't concede at 4 goals against an Austin team that I will say for Los Verdes, all of a sudden Austin are on a charge. Like, remember a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago, where Austin fans were saying that this is doom and gloom, and even some that went as far as potentially saying that Josh Wolf should be fired from this team. Yeah, all of a sudden, this team are now all the way up to 5th place in the Western Conference. That's how things can change in the Western Conference, and that's why the West is just so crazy this season. Like, you can have a bad run of form, but if you can get yourself in a couple of games with a winning streak, all of a sudden you can rise up high up in the standings because of how tight and how unpredictable the Western Conference is this season. But that being said, moving on in the next match. We got Colorado and FC Dallas, and I'm wearing Colorado because it finally happened. They finally got their first home win of the season. They mentioned it's been 260 days since the Colorado Rapids have got a home win in MLS, and coincidentally, they got that home win against FC Dallas, which is literally the last team that they were able to beat at home. As this time they were able to win 2-1 against Dallas, and also kind of a come from behind resort against Dallas too. Though early on, Yappy, yeah, he missed an absolute sitter from close range. This was a rough game for Darren Yappy. I mean, he had some really good looks. He probably had two of the best look in this game, and both time he missed it. And maybe this is just an example of him not having a lot of confidence, or the fact that this is just kind of sums up the season for the Rapids. None of their attackers can be clinical in front of goal. But in the 14th minute, Gutman did try to score on his debut, but he hit a one hopper wide. But I thought it was a positive start for Colorado as they were pushing for the opener. But Dallas was able to get the opening goal. It's Sam Junka scoring from Velasco to make it 1-0 in favor of Dallas. It took a very fortunate deflection off of a Bubakar, but that's just what happened when you're a bad team. Like, you're not going to get those breaks, and you're going to have deflection that goes against you. And just like that, Dallas were leading 1-0, despite the fact that Colorado, I thought at that point they were the better team. Cirillo then puts it high from close before Bassett would puts it wide from long range. But then in the 31st minute, Colorado was able to tie the game up. And when all in doubt, why not go with your old bread and butter? We know this is a Rapids team that does well in terms of set piece, especially from the corner. And even though Jack Price is no longer there and done for the season with injury, Connor Rowland has stepped up big in terms of delivering those set pieces, and he delivered an absolute beauty of a corner here. And Andres Maxwell scoring was on the end of it, scoring his first career MLS goal here, and that gave the Rapids the equalizer. And then Maxwell, who just scored his first career MLS goal, was looking for his second career MLS goal, but this time he heads it wide, following a corner. But yeah, Colorado was very dangerous on the set piece. They were looking for the lead that way, and Dallas was really struggling defending those because there's a couple of times where the Rapids had some good looks from those set pieces. We do head to halftime, tied at one apiece in the second half. Quignon was in on goal there, but he was denied by Yarbrough before O'Brien would puts it high from close range. And I thought it was a positive start for Dallas. Like, they were looking to try to retake the lead. Though in the 54th minute, Poss absolutely robbed Abubakar on a header with a full stretch save there. Again, that came off a corner. That's been a problem in this game for Dallas. They're just having a lot of issue in terms of dealing set piece opportunity from the Rapids. And then in the 60th minute, Darren Yappy again, just a striker that just have no confidence whatsoever because yeah, I mean, in the end, And despite that, he had this horrid miss where he puts it over from 3 yards out. He kind of got bailed out because on that sequence of play, they did go to VAR to check whether or not if Junka actually handballed that in the box, which he did, which was a penalty for Colorado. And I think probably the most relief player out there is got to be Darren Yappy because again, from 3 yards out, he's got to bury that one. Like you know the old saying, it's harder to miss than score it from the distance. That was a prime example of that. But like I said, Darren Yappy, he got left off the hook because the penalty was given to the Rapids, and it was kind of interesting to see who's going to take the penalty because so far this season, like the goal scoring, there hasn't been consistency in terms of who takes the penalty for the Rapids. But Brian Gavon steps up and he slots that one home to give the Rapids a 2-1 lead. And Coppola too. I mean, he actually went with a Panenka, which yeah, I mean, for a team that has been struggling so much this season at home, and you have a chance to take the lead, I don't think taking a Panenka is the kind of the right choice in terms of doing that. I mean, if it works, it's definitely cold-blooded. But if it doesn't work, you once again we'll just say well that just kind of sums up the Rapids season. But it worked. It gives the Rapids a 2-1 lead. Ronan then puts it over the bar from long range before Velasco would puts it over the bar from long range as well. And really, as the time winds down, Colorado was shutting up shop. Like they were holding on for this lead, trying to finally win their first game in almost over a year. And they do. In the end, they won 2-1 in this one, only the third win this season. And apparently, they love playing FC Dallas at home because the last two times that they play at home where they got a win, was against FC Dallas. But the shots in this one, 13 shots committed, 9 that Dallas had. 3 shots on goal for the 4 that the Rapids had. 6 shots off target for the 4 that Dallas had. 3 shots that was blocked for the 2 that Dallas had. And possession-wise, 52% possession compared to the 48% possession that the Colorado Rapids has in this game. And while this win kind of really doesn't mean too much for the Rapids because they're just so far behind, and that, as I mentioned earlier, them along with TFC are probably in CU next season mode. It's got to feel good to finally get that monkey off the back, finally get your first home win as now we can officially say that every team has at least got a home win, at least get their fans something to celebrate in terms of getting a win at home. But for FC Dallas, yeah, this is really concerning because the goal drought continue. They absolutely need to look in the transfer market and add some more attackers because I know yes there have been some injuries and also players out on international duty with the likes of Jesus Ferreira and Paul Ariola, but still they need more than that because this is a really long goal drought that they have. It's something similar to what we saw last season, but I mean this season I don't know. I don't think they can ride out of this goal drought similar to what we saw last season, unless if Jesus Ferreira started to get hot again, like what we seen he did at least in the last part of last season too. Although except for the last month of the season where he kind of went stone cold. But that being said, moving on in the next match, you know what? One team is not struggling in terms of scoring goal. It's RSL, and I have a feeling they might not be struggling scoring goal anymore because yeah, you know that guy called Chicho. Yeah, he made his debut in this one, and he did not waste any time to get his first career goal for RSL in this one. So early on in the first half, McMath did deny Torres from close range, but on the second effort, Smith had a shot that was saved by McMath. That turns out to be probably the most lethal chance that Orlando would get in this one. In fact, I actually thought Orlando started well in this one. They were looking for the opening goal, but that turns out to be the only time where they actually looked like they were promising and that were controlling this game. Because after that, Krylak would have RSL first shot, but he missed wide there in the 10th minute. And then in the 23rd minute, there he is, Chicharito. He scored from Ruiz to make it 1-0 in favor of RSL. It's the first goal for Chicharito playing for RSL, and you can hear not only the celebration at American First Field, aka the riot, but you can even hear the bitterness that is going on in LA, and especially from LAFC fans. And we'll definitely talk about that game later that they have the Quake against the Quakes, where yeah, that would make it even more bitter because of the way that LAFC desperately need a number 9 and that they probably could have had him if they did decide not to let him go. Then in the 37 minutes, Savarino would puts it wide from close range. It has been all RSL since the opening goal, and they were looking to try to get a second, and they do. It's Justin Glad scoring from Ruiz to make it 2-0 in favor of RSL. I think this is the fourth goal that Justin Glad has scored. He has not been known to be a goal scorer until this season. I mean, he's been getting a lot more goals than I've seen in previous year. And then Arango tried to go for a second in one this in his debut, but he missed high there, and we head to halftime with RSL well controlling this one, 2-0 against Orlando. Now in the second half, Galese denied Luna from close range before Krylek thought he made it 3-0 in favor of RSL, but the goal was disallowed for offside. However, in the 78th minute, RSL would make it 3-0 as Savarino would score from Oviedo and Brody. That was just a powerful volley there from Jefferson's Savarino, and that made it 3-0. And then just to add the cherry on the top, it would be 4-0 in the 88th minute as Julio would score from Ruiz to make it 4-0 in favor of RSL. It looked like it was 5-0 when Danny Mosfowski puts it into the back of the net, but for the second time tonight, the flag did not agree with that because the goal was disallowed for offside. So you could say that, those goals count. It could have been 6-0 in favor of RSL. That's how dominant that they were on the attacking end. And yeah, but still in the end, they won 4-0 against Orlando City. Shots in this one, 15 shots compared to 11 that Orlando has. 4 shots on goal compared to 6 that RSL had. 5 shots off target compared to the 4 that Orlando has. 4 shots out of block compared to the 3 that Orlando has. And possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that Orlando has in this one. And, for Orlando, this was kind of like playing the Uno reverse card. Remember that 4-0 win that they had a couple of days ago? They basically played the Uno reverse card. I mean, this was the complete opposite performance of that great performance that they had against TFC, and I guess maybe that kind of sums up the season for Orlando City. Inconsistency has been a problem. There could be one day where Orlando looked like a team that could compete in the playoffs, and then the very next game they look like the worst team in the league. And again, that's gotta frustrate Orlando City fans. That just no consistency that can be found in this team. With that being said, moving on in the next match, Galaxy. So the Galaxy, they're definitely truly alive right now. I mean, this is a team that a couple of weeks ago they looked like they were dead and buried. And who knew that the firing of Chris Klein actually has relieved so much pressure? And also, who knew that when Chicharito went down, and it seems like all these players are using this as a rallying cry to play for Chicharito, is a way for them to start to look really hot in the last couple of games, because ever since Chicharito went down and Chris Klein got fired from this team, they have not lost a single game, and that includes them getting a 3-1 win in this one against the Philadelphia Union, who is heading the opposite direction now all of a sudden. Now, in the first half, Bendik would deny Puig from long range off of a deflection, as I thought the Galaxy was on the front foot looking for the opener. Judd did try to redirect the shot, but he puts that one wide. But then in the 15th minute, Tyler Boyd would score. He scored from Delgado and Puig there to make it 1-0 in favor of the Galaxy. Not a great goal, though. I mean, that one is one that Bendik, he's got to save it. And this is the thing that I think it is the reason why the Union are desperate to have Andre Blake back. And the bad news is, since Jamaica is playing in the semifinal of the Gold Cup against Mexico, they're not going to have him back, at least in the next game. But yeah, they definitely need him back, because some of these goals that the Union have conceded uh, under Joe Bendik has not been great whatsoever, and I won't be surprised if the Union might be looking to move on from Bendik and maybe even go for another backup goalkeeper, because Joe Bendik has definitely not been the answer. He's been giving up some softies, and this is one of them. I mean, this was just a weak shot hit from Tyler Boyd. That's one that Bandik's got to save. But in the 19th minute, Delgado would hit one right to Bendik before Judd would put one right to Bendik. I mean, the good news with Joe Bendik is the fact that he actually, besides that gaff that he had in the 15th minute, he actually had a decent game. But as the old saying about goalkeeper, it doesn't matter how good you perform. If you make one mistake and let in one bad goal, you're gonna be basically be judged by that. But I thought this has been one-way traffic. I mean, the Galaxy was all over the Union, but Union ties the game up. It's Michael Root scoring in the 35th minute to tie the game up at one apiece, completely against the run of play, and really one of the first good look that the Union has up to this game. Elliott then hits it onto the roof of the net, and the momentum was clearly switched in favor of the visitor, and the Galaxy really kind of lost that control that they had in the first 35 minutes of the game. But the good news is they do retake the lead right on the stroke of halftime, and unfortunately, it's actually an own goal scored Bizo. Originally, it was given to Douglas Costa on the corner, but it was pretty clear that it was last touch of Olivier Bizo. But yeah, it was just a great set piece delivery there from the Galaxy, and we say this before. Good things happen when you deliver those ball in the dangerous area, and it would be a nightmare for defenders to deal with it because there's times where it's hard to kind of clear the away, especially you're trying to defend not only the ball coming in, but also make sure your markers don't actually get free and it hits it into the back of net. And yeah, in that play, that was kind of the reason where Bizo, he kind of lost track of Douglas Costa trying to clear the way, but instead clear into his own net. And yeah, that gives the Galaxy a 2-1 lead. That was the score line heading into the second half. In the second half, Carranza would hit one right to Kinsman, but Kinsman had a little bit of a shaky moment there. He bobbled the ball, and he's very fortunate that he was able to gather before any Union player can pounce on it. Costa then fires it wide from long range, and then in the 68th minute, Puig would puts it high from long range. By the way, Douglas Costa, he's playing much better in the last couple of games, and I wonder a lot of that maybe has to do with the fact that it's pretty clear he doesn't want to go back to Brazil because of the whole arrest warrant that's going on because of unpaid child support and all that crazy thing that I mean that's the most classic thing that you could say about Douglas Costa and doing his career, but at least he's been playing well for this Galaxy team. You know who else is also playing well, as I mentioned? Ricky Puig. He puts one high from long range before the post. Actually denied Edwards, who trying to stab it in the front post. And it seems like the Galaxy were looking to put this one away, and they do. And who else but Ricky Puig? He scored from Joveljic and Costa to make it 3-1 in favor of the Galaxy. Again, this is the Ricky Puig that the Galaxy was hoping, and definitely the Ricky Puig that we saw last season. I mean, if he's on, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. That if he's on, he's definitely the one of the best midfielder, not only in MLS but maybe in world too. I mean, there's a reason why he come out of the La Masia academy, and I won't be surprised if he can continue to perform at this rate. There's gonna be a lot of club in Europe that's gonna be calling for Ricky Puig, and he's definitely gonna get himself back a chance to play for a big club in Europe. But in the first minute of stoppage time, Bendik would then deny Joveljic, and then not long after, he would deny Joveljic again on a carbon copy play of the last chance. It was no mercy that was shown for the Galaxy. They were pushing to trying to get that fourth goal. They don't get it though, but they do get the 3-1 win against the Union. Shots in this one, 10 shots compared to 11 that the Union has, 7 shots on goal compared to 2 that the Union had, 7 shots off target compared to 5 that the Union has, 2 shots that was blocked compared to 4 that the Union has, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to the 47% possession that the Union has in this game. And like I said, the Galaxy, they're only 3 points behind ninth place that is occupied by Vancouver. And I'll tell you what, if you would have said that this team would be back in playoff contention just a couple of weeks ago, I think Galaxy fans would think that I'm inclined and having unrealistic expectation. But hey, ever since the firing of Chris Klein and the fact that ever since Chicharito did went down of a season-ending injury that looked like it was going to doom the Galaxy, it's just kind of done the opposite. I mean, this team has played so well in these last couple of games, and we'll see how much higher they can get because again, just like Austin I talked about before, doesn't take much for you to get yourself back into the playoff conversation or at least get yourself in a good spot in the playoffs because of how unpredictable the Western Conference is this season. With that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last two games to finish off this mega review that I'm doing of all the Saturday night action from match week number 23. So we actually might hit under the 90 minutes mark in terms of this mega review because as I am speaking right now, I think we have just passed the 73-minute mark and I just need 17 minutes in terms of reviewing these last two games, which I think I should be able to do. Although, in the next game, I am definitely talking about one of my team and usually I spend a little bit more talking about a game that involved with my team, which speaking of which, moving on, we got LAFC and the San Jose Earthquakes, and I'll tell you what, the Quakes, I didn't think they were going to pull this one off. I mean, especially as the red card happened in the 55th minute and they were just holding on for dear life in this one. I didn't think that they were gonna pull this one off. Somehow they did. Now, again, a lot of that has to do with the fact that it seems like whenever the Quakes play against LAFC and there's a red card, that gone against the Quakes. Seems like the Quakes are not phased by that because I've seen a couple of times where the Quakes are down to 10 men and they still went toe to toe with LAFC, and also knowing the fact that LAFC again, as I mentioned, would have really loved to have a guy named Chicho Arango in this game. I mean, if they still had Chicho Arango, I'm pretty sure that they would have won this game relatively easily. But early on in the first half, McCarthy would deny Murray after he actually took on the entire LAFC backline and actually went beast mode there. So yeah, that was not expect. I did not expect Paul Marie to make that incredible run just 10 seconds into the game. But hey, that almost was the opening goal of the game. Espinoza then puts it high from long range, and I thought for once the Quakes actually got off to a strong start on the road. I mean, that feels like once in a blue moon. The fact that the Quakes can actually get off to a strong start on the road because this team always tends to start slow whenever they go on the road. Espinoza then puts it wide from close in the 28th minute. Before in the 30th minute, he would be on target. He scored here from Skahan to give the Quakes a 1-0 lead. It was off of a lightning counterattack there from the Quakes, and it's safe to say that Christian Espinoza has started to find his groove again. And this has got to be great news for the Quakes because, again, he's been struggling in the month of June, but he's definitely has found his groove again. And I think that goal that he scored against the Galaxy in the last game really gave him confidence because that looked like a very Christian Espinoza goal that we've seen from this season from the Quakes, and it's no surprise that he represent the Quakes in the All-Star game this year. But that lead would be short-lived because in the 36th minute, a penalty was given to LAFC after Rodriguez brought down Bawanga in the box. I mean, that's a debatable bull one as well, but that was just not a great moment there from Rodriguez. Like Bawanga, he wasn't even getting anywhere close in terms of shooting from goal. It was kind of near the byline, and it just feels like it's just just a clumsy kind of foul there from Rodriguez. And yeah, that gives the penalty for LAFC. Bawanga steps up and he buries it to tie the game up at one apiece. And then he puts it wide from long range in the 41st minute. And seems like we're going back according to the script because the script coming into this game is that LAFC should get a much needed win in this one. Against the Quakes, but then again, you can also argue that maybe it shouldn't be the script because again, LAFC, they have had problems against the Quakes in the last couple of games. Like, I wouldn't think that was the case, at least in the first couple of meetings when LAFC play against the Quakes. But recently, they had a tough time in terms of trying to beat the Quakes. And even in the one win that they had against the Quakes, they really had to rely on some help by VAR to get them a penalty to get the win. Now, not saying that was the wrong call, but, they kind of got a little help there from old VAR and they kind of got a little fortunate with a late goal, but again, they have not played well against the Quakes, and that kind of continue in this one. So we do head to halftime with this one tied up at one apiece. In the second half, Danielle would deny Bogush from long range before Maldonado actually hits it high from close, actually from the corner. Then Danielle would deny Tillman from close range. I mean, you just kind of had a feeling that Danielle is going to have to make some key save in this one against an LAFC team that was pushing for that second goal. Speaking of which, as I mentioned, they were pushing for that second goal. And then Danielle himself actually got himself sent off here for denial of goal score opportunity. Now, I'm not gonna lie, that's probably rough on Danielle part because he as Tillman was around the keeper, I think Danielle was trying to jump, trying to maybe boots that one away, but he just kind of completely missed it, and then it just coincidentally hit his hand there. But still, when you hit your hand like that, and especially when your attacker is in on goal, that is a denial of goal score opportunity. So the Quakes we're down to 10 men, and JT Marcinkowski had to come in to replace Daniel, who was sent off. Paul Marie, of course, was sacrificed as the outfield player. And then Bogush looking to immediately take advantage of it on that ensuing free kick. And he actually slipped there and goes right to Marcinkowski. I mean, if he didn't slip there, that probably wouldn't have been an easy save there from Marcinkowski. But Buke then puts it high from close in the 63rd minute before Marcinkowski denied Buke in the near post. I gotta say, JT Markowski, he definitely had a redemption game in this one because again, it's never easy when you're a goalkeeper coming into the game when you're not expected to do. Though I will say that with JT Markowski having been playing and have been starting from this team a couple of times, maybe this was a little bit more comfortable. Him coming straight in, whereas just a backup goalkeeper that have not played a single minute and has to be thrown right into the deep end. But still, this was a great performance for Mark Sinkowski. And there's times where it's almost like whatever Daniel power that has translated into Mark Sinkowski as he was given the marching order, kind of got into Mark Sinkowski head and body because he was making some very Daniel level kind of save that I have not seen Mark Sinkowski done throughout the season. But again, with the man advantage, LAFC was continuing to push hard for the lead, and the Quakes were in full park the bus mode. Like they were bringing everybody back. They were just clearly holding on to this draw here. And I also wrote it usually doesn't go well on the road because I've rarely seen that this team has been able to hold on to get a point on the road playing that style. I think besides Seattle, that's probably the game that could be an example of it. And then, of course, there's a couple of occasions at home too, but on the road, that's been the problem for the Quakes. They have had trouble in terms of holding on to either getting a roll point or getting a win on the road because of playing that style. But Marcinkowski then denied Vela from close range. That was a big save there because Vela, I know he's not playing well this season, but I thought that could have been a big opportunity for LAFC to take the lead, but Marcinkowski says no. And then Mamadou Fall hits it wide from close range, and it just kind of feels like it was one of those games for LAFC. And I think the crowd knows it too, because they've seen this story before where this team has given the opportunity to score, but nobody can finish. And this is also why I said, again, they would have loved to have that number 9 from RSL right now to be still on their team right now to help them in terms of clinical finishing. Well, they don't have him anymore, and that, yeah, as a result, it ends in a 1-1 draw on this one. Shots in this one, 14 shots for the 9 that the Quakes had, 6 shots on goal for the 3 that the Quakes had, 3 shots off target for the 6 that LAFC had, 3 shots that was blocked for the 2 that LAFC had, and possession-wise, 64% possession compared to 36% possession that the Quakes has in this one. And while the Quakes are still struggling, I mean, they actually have not got a win now in the past 5 games. It definitely felt like a win with the way that, it's not very easy to go on the road being a man down, especially playing against LAFC. Even if LAFC hasn't been looking like LAFC lately, it's never easy to get a roll point, and they are able to do so. But again, for LAFC, they desperately need a number 9. Like that's their top priority this summer because when you look at the team that they have, I mean, there's just no goals that is coming for this team, and a lot of that has to do with none of the attacker of this team is stepping up. I mean, even Denis Bouanga, I know he scored in this one from the penalty spot, but he's still ice cold doing this month of June. Only 2 goals in the month of June and heading into July, and really only 2 goals ever since this team exited in that CCL final, losing that CCL final against Leon. With that being said, moving on into the last game is Vancouver and the Seattle Sounders. So for the Sounders, well, this was really the first time in a long time where we see the attack finally start to click, and it kind of come. I mean, I don't know. Would you say Leo Chu is an unlikely source because we always knew that he has the potential to be a great attacker, and he definitely showed in this game for the Sounders. So early on in the first half, ZZZZ for the first 17 minutes. Like this was similar to those 7:30 p.m. Eastern game where there was really nothing happened in the first part of this game. In fact, the first shot didn't came until the 17th minute. It saw Ladero heads it wide in the 17th minute before Cleveland denied Berhalter from long range. So Stephen Cleveland getting his first start in this one, and he had to be on task because that was a rocket from Sebastian Berhalter, and Cleveland just did enough to deny him there, but he cannot do anything with this header from Veselinovic as he scored here from goal to make it 1-0 in favor of the Whitecaps. It was a perfect set piece goal from the Whitecaps. We know that they're dangerous in terms of the set piece, especially from those delivery from Ryan Gaul, one of the best set piece deliver in the league. And he puts it just on a plate for Ranko Veselinovic to heads that one in. And yeah, the Whitecaps were leading 1-0. White then heads it wide from close range before the post, denying Laborda. But actually recycle back to the Whitecaps a couple of times in the box. And then Repulso blast that one wide. And you can definitely feel like the Whitecaps were feeling it. They were pressing for that second goal. They were creating a lot of problem to the Sounders back line that was very disjointed and was on its heel. And it looked like they did get that second goal in the 37th minute as Brian White would put it into the back of the net. The problem was the flag did not agree with him. As the flag came out, it was offside there. And then Rui Diaz had a rare opportunity for the Sounders in the 38th minute, but he hits it straight to Takioka. But we do head to halftime with the Whitecaps leads at 1-0. But in the second half, the Sounders did get the equalizer, and it's Leo Chu. He scored from Reagan and Ladero to tie the game up at one apiece. Won't be the last time we see this combination of play tonight, but really just non-existing set piece defending from the Whitecaps here. Like, yeah, they cannot let Jackson Reagan open there like that to flick that one into Leo Chu. But Sounders wouldn't care. They tied the game up at one apiece. But he wouldn't stay tied for long because in the 71st minute, Ryan Gaul would score from White and Takioka to make it 2-1 in favor of the Whitecaps. Speaking of bad defending, oh, that was also bad defending from the Sounders. Like, again, when you have Route 1 balls that can easily start an attack, that's a sign of bad defending. And that was kind of the case. It was just a Route 1 ball where Takioka boots it up. White basically flicked on it, and then Ryan Gaul was in on goal. Like, it can't be that easy in terms of going for on goal there. That was just some suspecting defending, and that Sounders backline just got completely switched off doing that play. But the good news for the Sounders is that they did get the equalizer again, as 5 minutes later, Chu would score again. This time, once again from Reagan and Ladero to tie the game up at two apiece. And again, almost a carbon copy of the last goal. This time Reagan flicks this one into Chu. Chu just kind of had a tap in there, and yeah, the game was tied up at two apiece. But then on the other end, Cleveland had to rob White from point blank, as that was almost 3-2 in favor of the Whitecaps. And again, MLS After Dark energy is definitely strong in this one. I mean, defending pretty much was completely out of the window. There was no defending to be found. It was back and forth. It was end-to-end action. And then in the 89th minute, Laborda actually got himself a second yellow card. There was a lot of sending off this week. I think this is like the fifth sending off I've talked about that happened in a game in this week. So yeah, of course he got himself sent off with a second yellow, and then just 2 minutes after the Sounder had a man advantage, they take the lead and would end up winning, scoring the winning goal as Yamar would score the winning goal of this game. I also wrote Paul Dolan might have just jinxed the Whitecaps 2 minutes ago. So for those that don't know, Paul Dolan was the color analysis along with Blake Price, as it is the case with Whitecaps home game. But yeah, Paul Dolan absolutely jinxed it because Paul Dolan literally just said 2 minutes ago after Laborda got sent off that yeah, I don't think the Sounders had enough time to get themselves the winner. Yeah, I think the Sounders probably hurt him and they took it personally because yeah, it's clearly that there was enough time for them to get the winner, and yeah, the Sounders were able to take the lead. I'm pretty sure every Whitecaps fans are hating on Paul Dolan after this game after just putting that commentary curse on them. But nevertheless, in the end, the Sounders getting a 3-2 win. Again, 3 goals is something that we have not seen the Sounders done a lot recently. I mean, the only time they have scored that many goals was in that game against Charlotte with a free draw. But this time they come in the winning side. And the shots in this one, 15 shots for the 13 that the Whitecaps had, 5 shots on goal for the 6 that Seattle has, 5 shots off target for the 6 that Seattle has. Both teams had 3 shots that was blocked in possession-wise, 65% possession compared to 35% possession that the Whitecaps has in this game. By the way, that's back-to-back wins now for the Seattle Sounders and for the Whitecaps. The Whitecaps kind of really reminds me of the San Jose Earthquakes from a couple of years ago, where I think on paper, if you're a neutral, you gotta love how Vanni Sartini's team have played. They play some very entertaining brand of soccer, but at the same time, they also, even though they play some entertaining brand of soccer, they also have found some inconsistency that makes some boneheaded play on the defensive front. And in this game, that well, we definitely saw a couple of those, especially in terms of set piece defending, and that's gotta frustrate you if you're a Whitecaps fan. I mean, you play well so far this season. I mean, where they are in the standing in ninth place, I don't think it really represent how well they've been playing this season, and that they're one of the most entertaining team to watch. But as they say, just because you're entertaining, if you're not getting the resort, it really doesn't matter. And that's kind of what I said about the Quakes under Almeida. I love the Almeida experience. If you're in terms of these crazy kind of man marking scheme that really create some crazy kind of games that you just don't see often in MLS, and will never see that ever again, unless if there's another kind of Mateus Almeida type of head coach come into the league. But at the same time, it can be just a roller coaster experience that if it goes bad, it goes very, very bad. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. And again, if you made it this far into the video, thank you for your support. And I think we might have just about hit under the 90-minute mark. In fact, I think we're actually at the 90-minute mark here. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this mega review that I did. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. And as always, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these games and this 14 games that we've seen in the mega review that I just did. And I hope I don't have to do this a game in the near future. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.